time in history, the dragon had rejected the heir to the throne. But that was not the beginning. The truth began 18 years earlier. Back then, the kingdom of Long Yuan was the greatest kingdom beneath the heavens. Dragons ruled the skies. Gods walked among men. Mortals and immortals lived under an ancient covenant of peace. At the center of it all stood King Longwei. A ruler admired not for his strength, but for his kindness. He never hid behind his soldiers. He fought beside them. He listened before passing judgment. His people loved him. Standing beside him through every victory was his closest friend, Lord Shen, the wealthiest merchant in the kingdom. The two men had grown up together. They learned to ride horses together. Practiced swordsmanship together. Even swore, as children, that nothing in the world would ever come between them. When Longwei became king, he kept his promise. Instead of forgetting his childhood friend, he made Lord Shen his royal advisor on trade and commerce. The kingdom admired their friendship. Many believed it would last forever. But no one knew what was hidden inside Shen's heart. Envy. Every time he bowed before the king, every time nobles praised Longwei, every time the people cheered his name, that envy grew stronger. One evening, after a royal banquet, Shen stood alone in the palace gardens. He watched King Longwei laughing with the queen beneath floating lanterns. The people cheered. Musicians played. Children ran around the palace courtyard. And Shen whispered to himself, "It should have been me. I am just as capable. I am just as intelligent. So why does heaven favor him?" Those words planted a seed. And that seed became obsession. Deep beneath the royal palace rested a treasure that even kings feared. The moon dragon egg. Its crystal shell glowed beneath the light of the full moon. Legend said it had fallen from the heavens thousands of years ago. It possessed only one power. Once every 18 years, during the night of the crimson moon, it could exchange the souls of two people until sunrise. The night of the crimson moon finally arrived. The kingdom celebrated with music, fireworks, and dancing. While everyone watched the festival, Lord Shen quietly slipped beneath the palace. The moon dragon egg rested upon a stone altar. Its silver light illuminated the dark chamber. Shen reached out and said, "This kingdom should have been mine." At that very moment, King Longwei entered the chamber to offer the traditional prayer of gratitude to the dragons. Before either man could speak, the moon dragon egg erupted with blinding silver light. The chamber shook violently. A powerful wave of energy surrounded both men, and everything disappeared. King Longwei slowly opened his eyes. His head ached. His body felt strangely unfamiliar. He stumbled toward the sacred mirror, and the reflection staring back at him wasn't his own. It was Lord Shen. "What? This can't be," he said as he touched his face. Before he could understand what had happened, royal guards rushed inside. "Master Shen. There you are." Longwei looked at them and shouted, "I am your king." But the guards just laughed awkwardly. "Perhaps you've had too much festival wine." And they escorted him out of the chamber, believing he had become confused. Meanwhile, Lord Shen stood before another mirror. For the first time in his life, he wore the king's face. He slowly placed the royal crown upon his head and said, "So, this is what it feels like to rule." For one night, every servant bowed before him. Every soldier saluted him. Every noble addressed him as Your Majesty. He had stolen another man's life. As dawn approached, the moon dragon egg fulfilled its final command. Silver light burst across the palace and the two men collapsed. When King Longwei awoke, he was back in his own body. He sat upright, breathing heavily. Fragments of strange memories raced through his mind. Walking through unfamiliar halls. Looking into mirrors and seeing another man's face. Hearing voices that felt distant. It all seemed so real. The queen stirred beside him and asked, "My king?" He looked around the room. Everything was exactly where it belonged. He let out a quiet laugh and said, "I must have fallen asleep. I had the strangest dream." The queen smiled. "Then let us hope it was only a dream." The king kissed her forehead. And within moments, the memories faded. He never questioned them again. Only one man remembered the truth. Lord Shen. Standing on the balcony of his mansion, he looked toward the palace with a satisfied smile and whispered, "The first move has been made." 9 months later, the queen gave birth to a healthy baby boy. 3 days later, Lord Shen's wife gave birth to me. Lord Shen knew the truth. The dragons knew the truth. But the rest of the world would not discover it for another 18 years. And during those 18 years, Lord Shen did everything in his power to make sure I never became the man heaven had chosen me to be. From the day I was born, Lord Shen looked at me with eyes that held no warmth. To the rest of the kingdom, he was a generous merchant and the king's closest friend. People praised his wisdom, his wealth, and the schools he built for poor children. Whenever he walked through the market, people bowed with respect. But behind the walls of our mansion, he became a different man. While other children learned poetry and swordsmanship, I learned how to carry rice sacks heavier than my own body. I woke before sunrise to clean warehouses, feed horses, and unload caravans that arrived from distant kingdoms. If I slowed down, Lord Shen's cane struck my back. If I made a mistake, he would point toward the capital and say, "The crown prince is your age, yet he already studies with the greatest scholars in the kingdom. Look at you, dirty, weak, and useless. You will never become half the man he is." Those words followed me every day of my life. Only my mother showed me kindness. At night, after Lord Shen had gone to sleep, she would secretly bring medicine to my room and clean the wounds on my hands. One evening, as she wrapped a bandage around my wrist, she whispered, "I don't understand why your father treats you this way." I forced a smile. Maybe he just wants me to become stronger. Tears filled her eyes. "No, run. A father who loves his son does not look at him with hatred." I wanted to believe she was wrong. So I worked harder. What Lord Shen never realized was that while he denied me a teacher, he could not stop me from learning. Whenever scholars visited the mansion, I listened from outside the doors while pretending to sweep the floor. I memorized their discussions about history, trade, war, and the ancient dragon scriptures. At night, I sneaked into Lord Shen's library and taught myself to read by candlelight. Knowledge became the only thing that truly belonged to me. Years passed, and then disaster struck the kingdom. The rain stopped falling. Rivers shrank, crops withered, and famine spread across the land. Villages began to starve. King Longwei summoned the Grand Council and invited every powerful noble, minister, and merchant, including Lord Shen. As usual, I was ordered to carry his scrolls and remain outside the council chamber. Inside, the greatest minds in Longyuan argued for hours. Some wanted to raise taxes. Others wanted to import grain from neighboring kingdoms. None of their plans would save the people in time. Then an elderly minister rushed out of the chamber shouting, "The irrigation maps! We forgot the irrigation maps!" I picked up the scrolls and carried them inside. The moment I entered, the room fell silent. King Longwei looked at me curiously. "You are not one of my ministers." I bowed. "No, your majesty. I came with Lord Shen." As I placed the maps on the table, I noticed something the others had missed. Several ancient river channels had been abandoned years ago. Without thinking, I spoke. "Your majesty, if we reopen these old channels before the next rainy season, the rivers will naturally flow back into the southern farmlands. We can end the famine without draining the royal treasury." The ministers stared at me in shock. An old engineer stepped forward, studied the map, and whispered, "He's right." The king's eyes widened. "What is your name?" "Ren, your majesty. You have the mind of a scholar, Ren." For the first time in my life, a powerful man looked at me with admiration instead of disappointment. But when we returned home, Lord Shen was furious. He dragged me into an empty warehouse and struck me again and again. "Who gave you permission to speak before the king?" he shouted. "I was only trying to help the kingdom," I said. "Help," he snarled. "The king praised you." "He was supposed to praise me." That night, my mother found me sitting alone in the dark. A few months later, the kingdom held the Grand Harvest Festival to celebrate the end of the famine. The final event was an archery competition open to all young men. The winner would receive a pouch of gold and a place among the royal guards. I had only come to deliver supplies for Lord Shen, but one of the guards recognized me. "Merchant boy," he laughed. "Why not try your luck?" The crowd laughed. Even Lord Shen smirked. I stepped forward, picked up the heavy war bow, and took a breath. The first arrow struck the center of the target. The second split the first arrow in half. The third, fourth, and fifth landed in the exact same spot. The entire arena fell silent. Then the crowd erupted in cheers. The captain of the royal guards inspected the target and shook his head in disbelief. "Perfect. I have never seen shooting like this." Moment, the crowd began cheering for me. As I turned to leave the arena, he stepped into my path. "So you're the merchant's son everyone is talking about," he said loudly enough for the nearby nobles to hear. I bowed respectfully. "Your Highness." He looked me up and down, taking in my simple clothes and rough hands. "A few lucky shots and a clever suggestion do not make you special." I remained silent. Kale smirked. "Men like you should remember their place. No matter how talented you think you are, you were born a merchant's son. You will never stand where I stand." The nobles around him laughed softly. I felt the humiliation burn through me, but I lowered my head and answered, "I never wished to stand above anyone, Your Highness." That answer only seemed to annoy him more. As he walked away, he threw one final remark over his shoulder. "Then stay where you belong." That evening, as the festival lanterns filled the sky, the king watched me from the palace balcony. "There is something unusual about that boy," he murmured. The queen glanced at him. "Unusual how?" King Longwei was quiet for a long moment. "When he speaks, I feel as though I've known him for much longer than a single day." One afternoon, Kale was training with the Royal Knights. As expected, every knight applauded his swordsmanship. But before the applause died down, one knight unknowingly said, "Your Highness is remarkable. Though they say Lord Shen's son is just as talented." The training ground fell silent. Kale's smile disappeared. "What did you say?" The knight immediately knelt. I meant no disrespect." Kale walked toward him. "Never compare me to a merchant's son." He threw his wooden sword onto the ground and stormed away. That day, his hatred for Ren was born. Meanwhile, life inside Lord Shen's mansion became even more unbearable. Every compliment I received from the king became another reason for punishment. "You embarrassed me." I lowered my head. "I never asked for praise." A slap echoed through the room. My mother rushed between us. "Enough. You'll kill the boy." Lord Shen glared at her. "You spoil him. He deserves discipline." "No," she cried. "He deserves a father." That night, I sat alone outside beneath the stars. My mother joined me. She gently placed a blanket over my shoulders. The most important day in the kingdom arrived. The dragon recognition ceremony. Every child knew the story. When a royal heir turned 18, the celestial dragon descended from heaven to recognize the future ruler. The crown prince stood proudly before the dragon altar. His royal robe shimmered beneath the morning sun. The sky suddenly darkened. A powerful wind swept across the capital. The clouds opened. A deafening roar echoed across the heavens. The celestial dragon appeared. Its golden scales reflected the sunlight like thousands of stars. People immediately fell to their knees. Some cried. Others prayed. The dragon slowly descended before Crown Prince Kale. The prince smiled confidently. "This is my destiny." The dragon stared into his eyes. Seconds passed. Then it turned away. Without roaring. Without breathing fire. Without bowing. It spread its enormous wings and disappeared beyond the clouds. The entire kingdom froze. The dragon priest dropped his staff. "No, this cannot be." The oldest elder collapsed onto his knees. "The dragon has rejected the crown prince." Whispers exploded throughout the crowd. Has heaven abandoned the royal family? Did someone anger the dragons? Has the royal bloodline ended? Lord Shen, however, felt something far worse. Fear. Cold fear. His heart trembled. His heartbeat echoed inside his ears. No, it can't be, not now. He whispered. He forced himself to remain calm. No one noticed. But inside, he already knew. If the dragon had rejected the prince, then heaven was preparing to expose him. The kingdom fell into uncertainty. 3 days passed. Markets remained unusually quiet. No celebrations. No music. Only rumors. Some claimed the dragon would never return. Others believed disaster was approaching. Meanwhile, I knew nothing about any of it. I spent my birthday exactly as I had spent every other day. Working. Before sunrise, I was already in Lord Shen's eastern fields harvesting vegetables and repairing broken irrigation channels. My clothes were stained with mud. My hands were rough from years of labor. To me, it was just another ordinary morning. Then the birds stopped singing. The wind disappeared. Even the insects fell silent. I slowly looked toward the sky. Dark clouds gathered overhead. The ground began trembling. Farm workers dropped their tools. What is happening? A brilliant golden light burst through the clouds. The celestial dragon had returned. Not above the palace. Not above the capital. Above the merchants' fields. People screamed and ran. Others fell to their knees. Lord Shen rushed outside. The moment he looked upward, his face lost every trace of color. No. The dragon descended. Slowly. Majestically. It landed only a few steps away from me. I stood frozen. My heart pounded. I had never been so close to a dragon. Its golden eyes met mine. For a long moment, neither of us moved. Then the impossible happened. The ancient celestial dragon lowered its enormous head. And bowed. To a merchant's son. A wave of golden light spread across the fields. The earth shook. Every dragon in the kingdom answered with thunderous roars. The mountains echoed. The rivers shimmered. It was heaven's declaration. The true heir had been found. If you like this, please like and subscribe for more.